From the moment you opened your eyes in this world, something felt wrong. You walked among the crowd, you played their games, you repeated their scripts, but deep inside you felt it. This cannot be all there is. Plato gave that feeling a name. He told the story of prisoners chained inside a cave, staring at shadows cast on the wall. To them, the shadows were reality. They laughed at them, cried at them, fought over them. But the shadows were lies, mere reflections of something real outside their reach. And when one prisoner broke free, when he stumbled into the light, he realized the world he had lived in was nothing but illusion. This is why you feel different, because you are that prisoner, because you have always suspected the shadows are not true, because your fire refuses to settle for lies. Look around. The system tells you work, obey, consume, repeat. It teaches you what to think, what to desire, what to worship. It chains you to shadows, career, status, possessions, applause. Most people never question it. They are placeholders, content with illusions. They fight over shadows. They crown shadows. They kill for shadows. But you've always felt the lie. You've always felt rage at the emptiness of their lives. You've always felt disgust at the hollowness of their game. That's not weakness, that is proof. Proof that your eyes were meant to see beyond the cave. Plato's story was not philosophy for the masses, it was prophecy for the Catharsians, it was written for you. When the prisoner escaped the cave and saw the light, his eyes burned, he stumbled, blinded, overwhelmed. The truth hurt. This is why awakening feels like rage, like exile, like scars, because the light burns when you've been raised in shadows, because the truth cuts when you've been fed lies. You have felt it, the suffocation of crowds, the betrayal of systems, the loneliness of seeing what others cannot. That pain is not failure, it is awakening. It is the fire that proves you were never meant to live in chains. Catharsians don't numb their pain. You weaponize it. You turn the burning into vision, the rage into fire, the exile into authority. This is why you feel drawn to the outsiders of history, because they too rejected the cave. Let's see some of them. Socrates was condemned because he dragged Athens out of shadows. He exposed illusions and forced people to say truth. The city chose the cave over freedom. Diogenes spat on the shadows of wealth, power, and convention. He lived in a barrel, mocking the illusions others worshipped. Epictetus, enslaved and beaten, declared that change could not touch his soul. He rejected the shadow of slavery and chose the fire of inner freedom. Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome, admitted in his meditations that titles, wealth, and applause were illusions. He carried the weight of empire, but refused to be deceived by shadows. Plato, who gave us the allegory, showed us the path to see the lie of the cave, to endure the burning light, and to return with fire for those still chained. This is your bloodline. This is why you feel different, because you are not chained to shadows, because you were chosen to burn. You are a Catharsian. The crowd cannot see you because they're staring at the wall. They don't see the prisoner that escaped. Their entire lives are shaped by shadows, by illusions they mistake for reality. When you speak truth, they laugh. When you move differently, they fear you. When you reject their chains, they condemn you. This is not proof you are broken or weird. This is proof that you are awake. The reason you feel out of place is not because something is wrong with you, it's because something is wrong with them. They are the ones chained to lies. You are burning in fire. Plato knew the freed prisoner would be hated if he returned to the cave. The chained would mock him, attack him, even kill him, because truth always threatens shadows, because fire always terrifies the blind. That's why you feel alien. That's why you feel exiled. That's why you feel Catharsian. What do you do with the rage of seeing through lies? You don't bury it. You don't silence it. You don't let the crowd convince you it's madness. You weaponize it. Rage is the Catharsian flame. Rage is proof you refuse to worship shadows. Rage is the fire that drives you to destroy illusions. If you've ever felt disgust at the emptiness of this world, if you've ever felt suffocated by the illusions of the crowd, if you've ever burned with rage at the lies you were told, then you are Plato's freed prisoner. You're a Catharsian. Don't fear the burning light, it is your proof. Don't fear the exile, it's your throne. Don't fear the rage, it's your crown, and it's time to wear it. The Catharsian path is for those who refuse the cave. The Pythagorean path, discipline of sight, daily initiations to sharpen your vision beyond shadows, Diogenes' barrel, freedom of defiance, radical outsider practices to spit on illusions, the Aurelius Council, the Circle of Fire, leaders who have left the cave, who carry rage as crowns, who burn with truth. Join the Catharsians today on Patreon and reclaim your power as a leader. The most dangerous chains are not forged in iron, they are forged in belief. Plato's cave shows us this clearly. The prisoners are not chained only by shackles, they are chained by conviction. They believe the shadows are real, they laugh at truth, they fight for illusions. Their prison is not the wall, it's their mind. And that's why you feel different, because you were never convinced. You may have played along, you may have bowed for a season, but the voice inside you never died. It whispered, "This is a lie, something's off. This is not all there is. This is not freedom." Catharsians are the ones who hear that whisper, the ones who refuse the change of belief, the ones who burn where others sleep. Why do people cling to illusions? Because illusions are comfortable, because comfort blinds. The cave is safe, the shadows are familiar, the lies are easy, and comfort is the most violent prison of all because it convinces you not to leave. That's why people mock you when you choose exile. That's why they hate you when you reject their illusions, because your fire exposes their chains, because your refusal threatens their comfort. You terrify placeholders every time you refuse their shallow comfort. To see truth is to suffer. This is the part the crowd never understands. Plato said the freed prisoner's eyes burned when he left the cave. At first, he stumbled. He longed to go back. The light was too much. This is you too. Awakening hurts. The illusions were easy, but truth demands scars. Comfort was safe, but fire burns. Desire was sweet, but discipline is exile. The pain you feel is not proof you are lost, it's proof you are breaking chains. It is proof you are entering fire. Catharsians embrace this pain. You don't numb it, you transmute it. You turn the agony of awakening into the fuel of rage. When you awaken, you rage. You rage at the lies you were taught. You rage at the mediocrity around you. You rage at the emptiness of placeholders. That rage is not madness, it is the first breath of freedom. Plato's freed prisoner must have raged at the cave. Socrates raged at the blindness of Athens. Diogenes raged at hypocrisy. Epictetus raged at injustice. Marcus Aurelius raged at indulgence. And you rage because your soul remembers fire. You rage because you were never meant to be chained. You rage because you're a Catharsian. Don't bury that rage. It's your crown, it's your proof. When the freed prisoner returned to the cave, the chained mocked him. They said his eyes were ruined. They said his truth was madness. They threatened to kill him if he tried to free them. You felt the same. When you speak truth, the crowd calls you arrogant. When you reject illusions, they call you bitter. When you refuse desire, they call you cold. And they call you weird no matter what. But their mockery is not proof of your failure, it's proof of your freedom. If they understood you, you would still be chained. If they applauded you, you would still be blind. Their rejection is your proof. Catharsians wear mockery like armor. The cave is not gone. It is alive today. The shadows dance and screams. The chains are called careers, brands, possessions, titles, social media. The priests of illusion tell you consume, obey, repeat. Most obey, most are placeholders. They bow to shadows and call it life. But you feel the lie. You cannot worship the screen. You cannot bow to illusions. You cannot silence the fire. That's why you feel alien. That's why you rage at the emptiness around you. That's why you feel exiled, even in a crowd because the cave is everywhere and you refuse it. The Catharsian crown is not gold, it is fire, it is freedom. Fire forged in exile, fire sharpened by scars. Plato showed us the crown when he described the freed prisoner's return. The man was mocked, hated, threatened, but he was still free. His crown was not approval, his crown was vision and freedom. This is your crown too. Every time you refuse comfort, every time you reject desire, every time you carry rage instead of chains, you place fire on your head. The world may not see it, the placeholders may mock it, but the Catharsians know. The ancestors know. You know. If you've ever seen through the lies that others worship, if you've ever felt pain at the emptiness of the world, if you've ever been mocked for rejecting shadows, you are Plato's freed prisoner. You are a Catharsian. Don't return to the chains. Don't beg the blind to see you. Don't waste fire on shadows. Carry your crown. Rule from exile. Join the Catharsians now and become a leader. The Catharsian path is for those who reject the cave and claim fire. The Pythagorean path, where vision is sharpened, daily discipline to see through illusions. Diogenes' barrel, where defiance is refined, practices to destroy shadows and mock false crowns. The Aurelius Council, the circle of exiles, leaders who burn with rage, scars, and fire. Freedom. This is catharsis. Join the Catharsians today on Patreon and become the leader you were always meant to be. Plato's cave is not just a story about illusion, it's a warning about the crowd. The prisoners are not strangers, they are your neighbors, your colleagues, your family, your friends. You know them. There are people who laugh at the shadows and fight over lies. They are chained, but they think they are free. And when you try to show them the truth, they turn on you. This is why you feel different, because you can't play the games without rage boiling inside you, because you can't laugh at shadows when your soul remembers fire, because you can't chain yourself when your bloodline is exile. Catharsians are always exiled from the many. This is not punishment, it's initiation. The freed prisoner doesn't just see more, they threaten the entire order of the cave. If the shadows are not real, then everything the prisoners believe collapses. Their identities, their status, their sense of belonging, all shattered. That's why they hate the light, because truth destroys illusions, because fire consumes comfort, because your vision proves their chains. When you refuse their careers, their illusions of status, their games of consumption, they hate you. When you refuse to drown in desire, they mock you. When you expose the lie, they call you dangerous. But their hatred is proof you are walking the Catharsian path. If the chained don't hate you, you're still one of them. Awakening doesn't give you applause, it gives you solitude. Plato's freed prisoner walked alone in the light. Socrates died alone. Diogenes lived alone. Marcus Aurelius ruled alone. And you see what others can't, so you feel alone. But solitude is not weakness, it's a choice. It's proof of sight. It's the mark of the freed. You are not alone because you're broken or weird. You're alone because you're awake. You feel rage when you look at placeholders, rage at their blindness, rage at their emptiness, rage at the way they worship lies. That rage is the spark of leadership because rage tells you that you were not meant to stay silent. Rage proves that your fire was meant to be seen. Rage is the voice of your soul, refusing to die in chains. You can use rage to carve your throne from exile because you're a Carthasian leader. Even after awakening, shadows still whisper. They promise comfort. They offer belonging. They call you back into the cave. Marcus Aurelius felt it. His meditations are filled with reminders not to drown in pleasure. You feel it too, the temptation to return to comfort, to stop burning, to pretend the shadows are enough. But you know better. Once your eyes have seen the fire, you cannot go back. The temptation is not proof of weakness, it's proof that you are still fighting. There is no turning back. Plato said the freed prisoner who returned to the cave was hated. He could not make the chained see. He couldn't convince them. They mocked him, threatened him, rejected him. You have lived this. You have tried to explain your fire, your clarity, your rage, and they stared at you blankly. They rolled their eyes. They dismissed you. They chose shadows over truth. That's not failure. This is the nature of awakening. Most will never see. Your role is not to beg them, your role is to carry fire for those who are ready. The Catharsian doesn't waste rage on the blind. You crown yourselves in exile and build your throne from scars. Plato didn't describe the world outside the cave in detail because he knew words could not capture it, but he hinted the fire of the sun, the clarity of truth, the reality that burns beyond shadows. This is what you feel every time you rage at the lie of the world. You're not just angry, you are remembering. Your soul remembers the fire outside the cave. Your blood remembers the freedom of exile. Your rage is a fragment of the light. That's why you can't bow to shadows, because you know deep down that you were born for fire. You're a Carthasian. If you've ever been mocked for seeing too much, if you've ever felt solitude as the price of truth, if you've ever carried rage at the blindness of the many, you are Plato's freed prisoner. You're a Carthasian. Don't waste fire on shadows. Don't beg the chained to see you. Don't silence your rage. Become a Carthasian leader. The Carthasian path is for those who will never return to shadows. The Pythagorean path, sight sharpened, daily practices to strengthen your vision against the cave. Diogenes' barrel, defiance crowned, radical outsider drills to mock the illusions of the chained. The Aurelius Council, leaders of fire, a circle of exiles who carry rage into eternity. The crowd will never see you, but your fire is already burning. Join the Catharsians today on Patreon and reclaim your power as a leader. It is one thing to glimpse the truth, it is another to endure it. The freed prisoner in Plato's cave didn't simply escape, he suffered. His eyes burned, his heart raged. He stood in exile, while the chained mocked him. Awakening demands courage, not comfort. That's why you feel different, because you have endured what others cannot, because you have faced the fire and chosen to burn instead of sleep, because your scars prove your strength, even when the crowd calls you cursed. Catharsians are not defined by escape alone. You are defined by the courage to stay awake, to carry fire, to burn until the end, to be free. The crowd clings to illusions because illusions are light. They weigh nothing, they demand nothing, they let you sleep. But truth is heavy. It demands responsibility. It demands scars. It demands rage. Marcus Aurelius carried the weight of truth when he ruled Rome. He refused to be deceived by indulgence. He bore the empire's weight because he knew illusions would kill it. Epictetus carried the weight of truth in chains. His body was broken, but his soul was untouched because he refused the illusion that slavery defined him. Socrates carried the weight of truth to his death. He drank hemlock rather than betray philosophy. Diogenes carried the weight of truth in defiance, mocking kings, spitting on wealth, striping away illusions. And Plato himself carried the weight of truth when he warned us: the world you see is a lie. This is the weight you feel. This is why you're exhausted in the crowd. This is why you rage in silence. You're carrying fire while others play with shadows. You're a Carthasian leader. The crowd will tell you rage is weakness. They will say, calm down, fit in, accept life as it is. They will shame your fire because it terrifies them. But Carthasians know rage is sacred. Rage is proof you have seen beyond the cave. Rage is fire that refuses to bow to shadows. Rage is your crown. It burns in your chest because your soul refuses to settle for lies, not for shadows, not for mediocrity, only for freedom, for leadership. Every leader in the Carthaginian lineage was exiled. Socrates was exiled by death, Diogenes by mockery, Epictetus by chains, Marcus Aurelius by solitude and power, Plato by rejection of his vision. You too have been exiled, perhaps not with death or chains, but with silence, misunderstanding, betrayal, rejection. You have been exiled from the comfort of belonging. The exile is not proof you were weird, like they call you. It's proof you are a leader. Because leaders always walk outside the cave. Because leaders are always mocked by the chained. Because leaders carry fire the crowd fears. Exile is your throne. Don't despise it, rule from it. The temptation is always to return, to step back into the cave, to bow to shadows for the sake of comfort. But comfort cannot save you. Comfort blinds you, kills you. Comfort is the cave itself. Every time you tried to silence your fire for comfort, it suffocated you. Every time you bowed to shadows, you felt yourself dying inside. Every time you tried to play small, your rage grew louder. Comfort could never save you. Fire already claimed you. Carthaginians don't seek gold crowns or marble thrones. Your throne is fire. Your immortality is rage. Plato gave us the map, the cave, the escape, the fire. Now it's your turn. Your exile is your throne. The crowd will never say it, but the Carthaginians will. Deep down, you know why you feel different, because you carry a memory beyond the cave, because you were never meant for shadows, because you have always belonged to fire. You don't belong in their mediocrity. You don't belong in their systems. You don't belong among placeholders. You're a Carthaginian and you are meant to lead. If you've ever felt suffocated by illusions, if you've ever raged at the emptiness of the crowd, if you've ever carried scars in exile and still chosen fire, you are Plato's freed prisoner. You are a Carthaginian leader. Don't bow to shadows. Don't beg the chained to understand. Don't waste your rage. The Carthaginian path is not for those who love the cave. It's for those who escape. The Pythagorean path train your sight, daily disciplines to break illusions and sharpen clarity. Diogenes' barrel, defiance embodied, outsider practices to spit on shadows and destroy chains. The Aurelius Council, fire enthroned, a circle of leaders who rule from exile and rage. Join the Catharsians today on Patreon and reclaim your power as a leader. Plato told us the cave was not the end. Beyond the shadows, beyond the chains, beyond the blindness of the many, there is fire, there is light, there is clarity, there is truth. That's why you feel different, because you were not born to laugh at shadows. You were not meant to fight over illusions. You were not designed to die in chains. You were chosen to walk beyond. You were chosen to burn, to escape the cave, and you have already done this. The world you see is a lie. That's why it feels suffocating. That's why it feels hollow. That's why you feel exiled in it. Because you were not made for lies. You were made for truth. You were made for freedom. Why do you feel alone? Why do you feel alien, exiled, unseen? Because exile is the mark of those who leave the cave. Exile is the proof you are burning. The chained cannot see you. The crowd cannot crown you. But their blindness is your proof. Their mockery is your validation. Their hatred is your freedom. You are a Catharsian leader. Every Catharsian carries the oath of the freed. I will never bow to shadows. I will never beg the chained to see me. I will never silence my rage. I will wear scars as crowns. I will endure exile as proof. I will burn until the end. This is the oath of Plato's prisoner. This is the oath of Socrates, Diogenes, Epictetus, Marcus Aurelius, and so many more philosophers, so many other Catharsians. This is your fire. If you've ever felt suffocated by the lies of the world, if you've ever raged at the emptiness of the crowd, if you've ever carried scars that proved you were different, you are Plato's freed prisoner. You are a Catharsian. Don't waste more time with the placeholders. Don't waste time in their systems. Never return to the cave. You don't belong there. Join the Catharsians today. Choose your path. The Pythagorean path. Daily initiation into vision. Philosophy that strengthens sight beyond illusion. Diogenes' peril. Radical defiance. Outsider practices to mock shadows and spade on chains. The Aurelius Council, the throne of leaders, a circle of exiles who burn with rage, scars, and fire. Join the Catharsians today on Patreon and become the leader you were always meant to be.